Hey, I want to share something with you today that almost nobody talks about. There's a reason why 99% of people get stuck in mediocrity, while a small minority seems to effortlessly pull ahead. And no, it's not about waking up at 5 a.m., taking cold showers, or reading more books. Look around you. Most people are playing the same game with the same rules. Going to school, getting a decent job, saving a bit of money, scrolling through social media, and essentially living lives of quiet desperation. They're stuck in what I call the mass market mindset. But there's another way to play this game, a way that nobody teaches in school, that most successful people won't openly share, and that might feel uncomfortable at first, because it requires you to think differently about everything. The first thing that separates the top 1% from everyone else is strategic digital detox. I'm not talking about throwing your phone away or deleting all your social media. That's what everyone else is preaching, and it misses the point entirely. What I'm talking about is information asymmetry. The most successful people understand that attention is the most valuable currency in today's world, and they protect it religiously. Look at how the average person uses technology, mindlessly consuming whatever algorithm serves them, constantly reactive to notifications, and spending hours scrolling through content that gives temporary dopamine hits but zero lasting value. This isn't just wasting time. It's actively rewiring your brain for distraction and mediocrity. The 1% approach is different. They use technology as a tool, not a distraction. They practice information fasting, deliberately going days without consuming news, social media, or entertainment, because they understand mental clarity comes from space between inputs. Operate on deep work cycles, completely disconnecting for blocks of 3 to 4 hours to achieve flow state. Stay strategically ignorant about things that don't matter. While everyone else is discussing the latest controversy, they're completely unaware of these distractions. Here's the part nobody talks about. This isn't just about productivity, it's about maintaining independent thinking. When you consume the same information as everyone else, you'll inevitably think the same thoughts. True originality, the kind that creates outsized success, comes from having different inputs than the masses. What's especially powerful about this approach is that it creates a compounding advantage. While most people fragment their attention more each year, becoming increasingly reactive and distracted, the 1% are developing deeper focus and clearer thinking. This gap in mental clarity doesn't just add up over time, it multiplies, creating an unbridgeable chasm between the average and the extraordinary. The second thing that propels people into the top 1% is subtle social intelligence. This isn't about being extroverted or having tons of connections on LinkedIn. It's about understanding the hidden social dynamics that most people miss completely. Most people approach relationships like transactions. They network to get something, they connect to extract value, and they think relationships are about keeping score. They might hide these intentions, but people can sense it, and that's why they struggle to build genuine influence. The 1% understand that true influence comes from invisible forces that most people never even consider. They understand micro-expressions and nonverbal cues that reveal what people are really thinking, while everyone else is just listening to words. They practice preemptive value, giving before there's any expectation of return. They master status calibration, instinctively understanding the status dynamics in any room and adjusting their behavior accordingly. Here's something most people miss completely. In any interaction, people aren't evaluating your words nearly as much as they're evaluating how you make them feel about themselves. The 1% have mastered making others feel important and valued without sacrificing their own position. The third differentiator is psychological capital, the invisible force multiplier that enables everything else. It's your emotional resilience, mental fortitude, and psychological flexibility combined. The average person operates with perpetual psychological scarcity. They're constantly drained by minor stressors and emotional reactions. By the end of an average day, they have nothing left for their most important work.
The 1% treat their psychological resources like a precious investment portfolio. They practice psychological anti-fragility, deliberately exposing themselves to controlled stressors that strengthen their mental resilience. They've mastered emotional self-regulation, experiencing negative emotions without being controlled by them. They understand that psychological capital compounds. Every time you overcome a difficult challenge, you're not just returning to baseline, you're growing stronger. Think about focus. The average person can barely concentrate for 10 minutes without checking their phone. Someone with high psychological capital can work deeply for hours. That's not just a small advantage, it's exponential over time. And the most powerful aspect, psychological capital transfers across domains. The mental toughness you develop through physical challenges enhances your resilience in business. The emotional regulation you practice in difficult conversations improves your decision-making under pressure. The fourth principle is the barbell strategy. Concentrate your resources at the extremes and avoid the middle. What does this mean practically? Let's look at how people approach risk. The average person puts almost everything in moderate risk, moderate reward investments and activities. They seek balance in all things. They pursue reasonable goals with realistic methods. And they end up with thoroughly mediocre results. The 1% think differently. They put 90% of their resources in extremely safe positions while allocating 10% to high-risk, potentially life-changing opportunities. They're simultaneously more conservative and more aggressive than average people. This applies beyond just finances. In skills development, the average person tries to be moderately good at many things. The 1% become extremely good at a tiny number of valuable skills. In career advancement, most people take a linear path of steady promotions. The 1% combine reliability with occasional radical moves that accelerate their trajectory by years. In business, average entrepreneurs put all resources into one moderate-risk venture. The 1% launch numerous small experiments while maintaining a secure foundation. The brilliance of the barbell strategy is that it protects you from ruin while exposing you to massive upside. Being moderately special is actually the riskiest position in today's world, investing enormous effort without breaking through the noise. The fifth principle is anti-fragility. Most people aim to be resilient or robust. They want to withstand challenges and return to baseline after stress. But the 1% aim for something more powerful. They don't just want to survive stressors, they want to benefit from them. They want to get stronger because of volatility, not despite it. When the pandemic hit, most businesses tried to weather the storm. But certain businesses thrived precisely because of the chaos. They weren't just prepared for disruption. Their entire model was designed to gain from it. The 1% incorporate this principle by creating optionality in everything they do, maintaining multiple possible routes to success rather than committing to single rigid paths, operating with planned redundancy, building in strategic reserves that seem wasteful until they become essential, embracing small, frequent failures that provide rapid feedback and growth opportunities. Think about your own life. Are you setting things up so that unexpected events are mainly threats, or are they potential opportunities? The real secret of anti-fragility is that it changes your relationship with uncertainty itself. While the average person dreads change and unexpected events, the extraordinary have structured their lives to convert these exact same surprises into advantages. They don't just tolerate randomness, they actively welcome it. This shift in mindset creates a profound competitive advantage in a world where change is the only constant. Conclusion. The 5 principles we've discussed, strategic digital detox, subtle social intelligence, psychological capital, the barbell strategy, and anti-fragility, aren't just random concepts. They form an integrated system for thinking that puts you miles ahead of 99% of people. What makes these principles so powerful is that they're invisible to most people. They're not the obvious success advice you hear everywhere. They're the deeper patterns that operate beneath the surface. You don't need to master all 5 perfectly. Even implementing one of these at 80% effectiveness will put you ahead of most people. Implement 2 or 3, and you're already in rarefied air. The goal isn't to look down on the 99%. The goal is to play a different game entirely, one with better odds, better rewards, and ultimately more fulfillment. So ask yourself, in which areas of your life are you unconsciously following the crowd? Where are you playing by rules that were designed for you to lose? And which of these 5 principles could you start implementing today? Remember, extraordinary results don't come from doing what everyone else is doing a little bit better. They come from doing different things entirely. Thank you for watching. If you found this valuable, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more content that goes beyond the obvious. Let me know in the comments which of these 5 principles resonated with you the most.